Hello, everyone. Today we have Falguni Mahajan with us, and is going to HEC Paris to do her master's in management. So I thought it'll be a good idea to have like a candid interaction with her and understand insights about her journey, how she selected that college, and what was it like to prepare for Gmat, and what was the interview process like. So, hello, Falguni, welcome. And congratulations for getting into HEC Paris. I know that it was your dream when you started preparing for GMAT. So I mean, let's straight away start with that. Like, how does it feel right now to finally getting what you actually aim for from the start?
Firstly, thank you, Shubham, for inviting me and having me here. And with regard to how I'm feeling, it's absolutely amazing. There was a point in my journey where I thought I couldn't get that because of various factors, including my GMAT, and well, there was just a spree of underconfidence underlying. But since then, now that I've received it, on top of that, the scholarship as well, I think I feel amazing about it, and I'm really really glad that I'm honored to have this opportunity to study in such a reputed institution, so that's great.
So you were talking about there were times when you thought that it wouldn't be possible, and one of the things that you thought would be really tough for you would be GMAT. So let's get into that first. Uh,
For sure.
According to you, like because you applied to a lot of universities in Singapore and Europe, and you just graduated from college, so you have an idea of what kind of profiles and what kind of GMAT score these universities are looking for. So can you give like a ballpark estimate of what someone should aim for if they're like a complete fresher, or if they have like at least 1 or up to 2 years of work experience? Like what should be like a
Right.
score that they should have in mind?
Right. So with MIM, it's just that they are looking at freshers primarily, but people with 2 to 3 years of experience can also get in. They have a much more advantage when it comes to securing a seat in these reputable institutions because the work ex speaks for them. But if I were a fresher today and I were to apply starting today, my main focus would be to ameliorate my GMAT score because that can only help me compensate for the lack of work experience thereafter. So an average GMAT score that you would see in the top 5 universities, at least that's what I saw, is around 675. I did score less than the average, but then I had a couple of to support my profile.
Okay. So, if someone has a score of around 655 to 675 in that range, they have a decent chance. At least the GMAT score will not be the bottleneck that stops their admission, right?
Absolutely not, because GMAT is just one aspect of your profile, and you'll see all the colleges do mention it in their websites that GMAT is not the ultimate test score that they look after. Your holistic profile, your extracurriculars, your academics in college as well, they matter much more in extent. And GMAT, if you score like a great score, it can help you and support your profile extensively, but just because you score lesser than the average doesn't mean your profile is out of their bounds. You're still very much capable of securing the seat that you want to.
Okay, I think this clarifies a lot of doubt people usually have, even when they talk to me about, having a definite minimum GMAT score in mind. And I end up saying that it's very subjective.
Right, right.
All depends on your profile. So this sort of validates the thing
Yeah.
I keep on saying all the time. Getting into the GMAT exam and
Mhm.
talking about the sections. So another thing that people usually face if they are not from a very hardcore math background in their majors in graduation, they have this inertia to actually start preparing for it. They think that, what, the quant can really be a problem in terms of
Right.
actually scoring very high in that. So, what was your experience with this, the quantitative aspect of GMAT, and how were you able to overcome it and get the score which got you admitted into these colleges?
Right. I think you're talking about me when you say not from a math background, because I left math when I was in 10th or 12th. And after that, I was a political science student. So there was no connection whatsoever to my analytical side of figuring out things. When I started GMAT, so I believe I should mention that I gave GMAT two times. One without, like, one was self done, and the other was when I worked with you guys.
Mm,
Now, the thing is that. There are two things when you talk about somebody who is like fearful of math. A, you actually can't do it, you just don't have the skill set. B, I think you're just too afraid to learn, or you have this in your mind that it's supposed to be a very difficult subject, and I won't be able to conquer it. So I think for me it was the latter,
mm,
and I think for most of us it's the latter, because we try to convince ourselves that probably this is not our cup of tea. So what I did was I was quick to understand what are the areas that I am the weakest at, and knew that these are the core areas that I need to work much more harder, as opposed to other verbal data areas that I was conveniently okay with. So that is what my strategy was. And I remember that I used to irk you a lot during my journey itself with like specific, very specific doubts as well. So yeah, I think it's just focus on your weak points, also focus on your strengths, and just try to balance them out for the exam.
okay. So basically, the fact that you were able to understand what were the weak points and what were the strengths that you have, that is, and knowing the distinction between them is something that you say it helped you in overcoming that. But if I get
Absolutely.
more into detail of the process, like again, like a very standard question that I get most of the times is how many hours do I need to invest? How many questions do I need to solve? And again, my answer is a little subjective than, like,
Mhm.
being very objective. But because I have a specific case of you right now, so can you give an insight about, the time it took and the number of questions you had to go through, or particularly what were you doing when you were not able to actually figure out what the solution should be for a question, and how did you handle
Okay. All right. So, with regard to the time, again, as you said, it's very subjective. But for me, I did invest a lot of time. But that was also the case that I had quit my job and decided to go all in for GMAT for
that?
my second prep. So, I think that makes all the difference. If somebody is a working professional, I believe giving 2 to 3 hours a day would also suffice, as long as you do that consistently over a period of time. I during both my attempts was on a time crunch
Mhm.
because of the application process. So I believe I completed the entire exam in 2 months. So that's why I had to invest a lot more hours per day, around 5 to 6 easily, so as to at least become competent enough to get a better score in the second one. Uh, when you ask about finding a solution for the question and that frustration you get when you're unable to do so, I think GMAT Club as a resource was my magnum opus. It helped me extensively because even if you don't understand the response that is mentioned in that portal, you have a lot of people commenting and like explaining the solution and then further explaining the explanation. So I think it felt like I was working with a giant family of GMAT lovers. And I had support by then, and also there are a lot of telegram groups wherein you can regularly channel your doubts and get solutions instantly. At the same point of time, I would also not encourage looking at the response immediately after you don't get the solution, and I think that is something that you have taught me when I was under you. So the point is that if you look at the solution right after you like do not happen to complete the question, it doesn't help your brain, it doesn't help you figure out how you reach the answer. So the good thing is that you give it like 2 to 3 tries before you give in, and that will help you a lot. Maybe you did not reach step last, but you reached step 4 and 5, and that step 4 and 5 will help you during the exam. I know it did for me.
Yeah, so just to add to that, like the reason why I keep on mentioning that we should definitely avoid looking for solution and at least try it
Right.
3 4 times is because once we look at solution, somehow subconsciously we know that we were not the ones who was able to figure it out. And
That
in
is
the
true.
your confidence build when you are able to solve it by yourself, and that is
Absolutely.
the most important criteria because as you have experience while writing the exam, that confidence is an asset that you need during the exam. You need to have
Absolutely.
that kind of self belief uh, before actually going and attempting the exam.
Right.
Moving ahead, are there any topics where you felt like initially that, you know what, these topics will be the kind of topics that will come and be a problem in the exam? I know when we started working together, verbal was not that big of an issue altogether, so I'm not getting into verbal. That's why I'm like more quant and DI focused in this
Right.
talk with you. But were there any topics that you had a preconceived notion of that, you know what, these topics can be a nightmare when I start preparing for it? And how was your experience with them, and were you able to actually be much more confident in them or not?
Oh, if I were being honest, I hated probability and permutation and combination. These two, I did not like it back then when I had them in 10th and 12th. Did not like them here as well.
Okay.
Uh, but I knew that, of course, I had to invest some time to us to understand the basics, clear my foundation, because I realized that the only reason I hated these topics was because my foundation was not clear.
Mhm.
uh, did not understand, I did not for the longest time understand that, why do we do permutation and combination, what is the need, and what are we exactly doing in this process. And it was when I watched a couple of videos, sat with you, like spoke to a couple of people about it, that's when I understood the concept, and that's when my interest started, you know gathering up for the concept. And I did a couple of questions, all from different categories: easy, hard, difficult. You easily find this on Gmat Club portal. I tried a couple of questions and I saw my level increasing as my interest grew.
Mhm.
So the entire idea of it is that, A, you understand why you are studying what you are studying. B, you go ahead with doing a couple of questions, looking at and assessing your level, and then upping that level is your ladder. That becomes fun. So that's what I did.
Uh, yeah. So, just to sum it up, the one thing that you mentioned is something I would like to point out is your interest started in this topic when you understood what kind of applications it can have. So,
Right.
is it safe to assume that a big challenge that people face while studying quant is they don't know where it will be applied? And if there is that kind of relatability in understanding, okay, these are the specific areas where these concepts are directly used, that drives you and helps you in navigating through the chapter better. Is that the case?
Absolutely, because I'll tell you, I'll be very honest. I still love the GMAT exam. I love how it is curated. I love how it actually asks you question for your logical reasoning as opposed to just asking you questions for the sake of an exam. And I remember this vividly. The first class that I came in, and I told you that, you know what, I actually really don't like speed, time, and distance. I get it. I know there's a set formula, but how is it here? Why is it here? What do I do with this? That was the real problem. And you broke it down for me. That's when I actually understood how it went about. And I had so much fun understanding it. Then the next thing I knew was when I was driving, I'm trying to understand how much time it will take me to overtake that truck right in front of me.
Mhm.
So I think that is how GMAT as an exam is curated. It rewires your brain. And when that happens, you actually start enjoying the concepts. I know I sound utopian, but it truly happens. And if people really do invest in the concepts, which are basic fundamental concepts, they will realize that this exam can help them way in the future as well, not just to bag their favorite university, of course.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for validating that because that's something I keep on constantly saying that regardless of what score you get, GMAT as an exam really changes your perspective on how you see things if you
Definitely.
have put in enough hard work, and
Hmm.
that itself is worth it more than anything else.
For
Uh,
sure.
So, final technical question about GMAT before we get into the scholarship that you got and the interview process. Uh, this is again a common dilemma that people face in general, and I know that I have to answer this in a lot of counseling calls. Is this whole idea of going for group classes versus having private sessions with a tutor whose way of teaching matches with your way of understanding. So can you just talk in brief about your experience and how would you what kind of pointers should someone look at when they have to decide between opting for a group class or opting for private sessions, maybe for one topic, not for everything in total. So I would like you to give your opinion on this.
Right, for sure. So, the first exam that I gave, I did not have any classes, and that's what made me realize I need classes. I need some sort of support. Now, there are a lot of factors to consider when you're choosing one. I went for the personal classes. There were a couple of reasons. First was definitely the time crunch that I had. I had to complete my entire syllabus in 2 months. Make sure that we don't just complete the syllabus. We do mocks. We assess those mocks. So there was a lot of things that were involved. And secondly, there were topics, as I told you, probability, permutation, speed, time. These were things that I was not good at, and I knew for a fact that the number of times I read them on Google wouldn't help. I needed actual personalized support to make me understand the foundation of these concepts. And one last thing, I think the third very important aspect of GMAT is the sorry, that would be different, but if I were to talk about data insights, that as a concept can also be only learned on a peer to peer basis. That is what I believe.
Mhm.
It helps you much more in, like, first investing time into a question which you can't really do in group classes. So I kept that in mind and hopped on for the personal classes. Lastly, I think one of the great things about one on one teaching that really helped me, and that is why I would choose that any time over any other group classes, would be that you gave me a lot of insights into, how my lifestyle should be in the last 14, 15 days of my exam, or what are the things that I need to, revise as well. What are the frame, and you also had the do's and don'ts that I shouldn't do, because I remember I used to rot learn frameworks and formulas, and you were the first one to say don't do that. So these were the things that I sort of had a mentor who
Mhm.
could personalize my journey, and I think that really helped me. But for somebody who has time on their bucket, they can take it with leisure. They just want to have a skim through the concepts of GMAT. I think group classes also are a lot more fun because you have a lot of people around you, and you can always make good networks, friends, and just cross question.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent summary. And honestly, thank you for sharing all the insights that you've had about your GMAT journey. So, moving forward to the next segment that I wanted to discuss, let's start with the scholarship you got. Like, what was the process and what is the name of the scholarship that you got? Because a lot of time people really want some kind of financial aid, especially when they are trying to do masters in management or MBA outside India. And yeah, so I would like you to spend few minutes on it and just like give an insight on what was the process, how did you get it, what is the name of the scholarship, and
Right. For sure. So, I would like to state that my study abroad dream has been very recent. That's why throughout the process, I was on a time crunch. I applied in round four, and most of the scholarships are not available during these rounds, especially the intergovernmental scholarships. So, if I were to talk about France specifically, you have to your entire course is divided into like M1, M2, M3 based on the number of years you're spending in the degree. And for each year, you can apply for a government scholarship. So my aim is to apply that for next year. For the scholarship that I received, it was a university scholarship, and it was in the Women in Business and Leadership category from HEC. The scholarship was worth 10,000 euros. And what you are supposed to do for the scholarship is, a couple of colleges accept your application as a scholarship application as well, And couple of colleges like the ones I applied in Singapore need an additional essay for your scholarship, and for you to tick in couple of boxes where you mention that this is the sort of category in which I would like to have a merit based scholarship. I filled in women in business in all the colleges. One could also fill others like ASEAN countries, or there are like thousands of scholarships that you can explore. So the process is quite simple. It's just that there's of course how you curate your essays, how you curate your profile, and a chunk of luck that helps you.
Okay, great. I'm sure this answer will actually clear a lot of doubt for people that keep on asking me these questions. Now, moving to the application process, uh, I know this is a huge industry in itself, and there are so many variables and subjectivity which is unique to every universities. So can you break that down, like in terms of application process, percentage wise, how much similarity did you see? And you can also name the universities you applied for so that you can like answer this more subjectively. And what was different in the terms of the questions that they were asking, which you felt like, okay, I need to customize my application for this university differently, and this much percent is still the same. So yeah, can you give
Right.
light on that?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, I applied to two regions. One was France, and the other was Singapore. There were three universities in Singapore: SMU, NTU, and NUS. And there was ESSEC and HEC in France. So the programs were different as well. In Singapore, I was applying for MBA. Here, I was applying for MIM. Thankfully, I got into all the universities and went for the dream program. Uh, Having said that, I think while I was filling the application, of course there were a lot of similarities. There are questions that are always going to be there in your interview as well as your application process, which is resonating with why do you want this university, why do you want to do MIM/MBA, what are your short term and long term goals. I think most of the universities are always trying to understand your goals and motivations for coming here or for coming to their university. One thing that I always like suggest to my friends who are also applying is that you always mention what you're going to deliver to the university as a standalone human, and how are you going to provide, how are you going to become ambassador of their programs back in your home country. There are a lot of aspects that you can add. So that is something that sort of got repetitive to a point where you're doing this for every university, because you do want to uh, showcase your interest for each and every one of them. One point of contact which was unique for like a couple of universities was in France. We had more questions that was situational. I remember filling in this question in HEC's application, which is a regular question, by the way, that if you were to have a dinner party today, and if you were to invite six people or whatever number of people, who would you invite and why would that be? And what is the theme of the party? So that's where they're trying to explore your mindset and how it functions, and the extent to which you can think, because they said, because in the question they have mentioned nothing is off limits. So actually use your brain, expand your horizon to write what you think. So I think these sort of questions were interesting, fun, tricky, and made you think a lot. So that was unique point about France. In Singapore, I did find that there were remotely like generic SOPs and essays that were needed. So that was a little more laid back as opposed to France.
Okay. Great. I mean, this is a lot of insights, and some of these things are relatively new for me also, what you mentioned. So
Okay.
thank you for sharing all of this. Coming to the interview process, uh,
Uh-huh.
how was your experience when you gave all the five interviews, and what are the learnings that you would like to share with people, let's say if they are right now going to apply for a lot of universities in round one in September, followed by round two. What are the key points that you would like to share by citing your experience that anyone should take care of when they are getting themselves ready for the interview process?
All right. Okay. So, for the record, all my interviews were very, very different. There was an interview that lasted 6 minutes, and there was an interview that lasted 1.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So, again, first thing I would definitely say is, do not think that the duration of the interview dictates how you as an individual performed in it, because I had to tell that myself. uh, do not overthink this, Falguni. So that is what I kept doing. But other than that, all the interviews were fun. They were unique in their own way. uh, some of the questions that were asked in all the interviews were again the same that I mentioned in the application process. Why do you want to join this university? They just want to get much more perspective, not just limited to what you wrote in the application, but what are your goals and motivations beyond that. So trying to mention a couple of their clubs and societies that you'd like to join in the process, and just eagerly showcasing your interest in the university really helps during the interviews. There were also situational questions wherein they mentioned that, what would you do if you were the world president tomorrow? And that's when, again, as in the application process, you have time when you're filling the application, and the interview are supposed to be on your feet. So they're also trying to test how you act in such situational questions, and keep your calm, because I believe business schools would want you to keep your calm during, like, and especially know how to, like, work in such a time crunch.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Other than that, I think it's best to be very, very honest and authentic in an interview, and never say the wrong things or the fake things just to impress the people right in front of you. They have been in this industry for a long, long, long time, and they know when the right thing is being said, or when an honest thing is being said. So I think that was very important for me. I kept it very true to the point. If I did not know anything, let's say about French politics or anything that was asked under the sun, I would mention that I wouldn't be able to answer it. And I was very honest. And sometimes interviews can be fun as well. I understand that at ESSEC I was asked to speak in French, and then later I realized that 15 minutes of my interview was in French entirely. So it's fun. It's fun. They're very cheerful. They also encourage you to give your best answers. And I think interview is also a place where you can add much more to your profile which you haven't written already in your application. So I tried to do that extensively. Like, I did not mention that I had a dog, or that I like traveling, or that I'm teaching French as a freelancer. So I made sure that I mentioned all of these things in the interview, and that helped.
Okay. So, just to summarize, because this was a very insightful answer, we started with the fact that the time that for which the interview elapsed is not an indicator of whether it was good or not.
Right.
Followed by the fact that you'll have to improvise a lot because these are all upfront questions and you have to think on your feet. The third thing being, it's always advisable to be upfront and honest because they are the kind of people who can see pretense immediately and they have been doing this for a long time. And finally, you had certain key points which were not part of your application, but you ensured that you mentioned all of them during your interview.
I would definitely ask students to not mention a couple of things in your profile and keep those for your interview. I think that's where they can strike one candidate against the other.
Oh, that is a very interesting and
Yeah.
unique aspect of something that you mentioned. Great. I mean, yeah, this answer again gives a very good insight all through the interview process. And I'm sure you had to work on your resume as well. So can you like give a short brief about how someone should go about it and the kind of advice you would like to give?
Oh, for sure. So, when I started, I did not know that there were like two different resumes for a university and work experience, like the one you go with companies for. But later I did realize that. So I knew that projects and publications as a section is very important in your resume, especially if you're a fresher. It indicates the proactiveness that and the projects that you undertook in college by yourself or with a team. And again, oozes out a lot of skills that are not explicitly mentioned in your resume. In your work ex, your internships are definitely a good go. The duration of your internship speaks much more than the work that you did in the internship, because they do focus on how often did you take the internships, what was the duration like, did you quit in like a month, or did you actually spend qualitative time to complete one project at least. So that sort of chronology matters. And I did a lot of things during my study abroad journey to ameliorate my resume. That was by taking couple of free courses online related to the degree that I was aiming at, and things that I had already done to concretize my skills further. I think that also helped my resume a lot, because if I were to give you a specific example, NUS, which is in Singapore, does not accept non business graduates in their MIM program. I, however, still applied for the MIM program and became eligible and got into the program. The only reason for it was that I included courses related to that degree,
Mhm.
making sure they know that I'm very much interested in the degree that I'm willing to pursue at their university. So, showcasing your interest throughout is where you use your resume as a platform, and as your brand, that speaks for itself.
Oh, that is also again a very interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing that. So, these were all the question I wanted to discuss with you, so that you can give your insights, which can help anyone who watches this video. And thank you so much for taking out the time and discussing everything with us. Lastly, are there any generic advice or remarks that you have for someone starting with their GMAT prep and then they're going to go through their application process? Are there any do's and don'ts that you have in mind now that you've gone through it all? And like you mentioned, you were able to get like 100% conversion of all the five universities you applied for, which is a very great achievement by itself. So, anything in general, like a short remark that you want to give to anyone who's starting this journey, and like the kind of do's and don'ts, pitfall they need to avoid, something like that.
Right. So I'm not good with the advice, but I would definitely say that this journey is pretty intensive. You have GMAT, then you have a couple of other exams if you're applying for a particular degree, then you have entrance exams for a couple of universities, again depending on your course, and then there's like a lot of essays, SOPs. So it's a very very intensive journey, and it will take time. So patience, which was never my personal suit, has to be imbibed in your daily routine, so as to make sure that one day you don't go on a burnout spree and just stop all of it, because it will take time. Secondly, I think what I would say is that creating the perfect strategy is the most important aspect of this entire study abroad journey.
Mhm.
This strategy should also include your GMAT, your IELTS, or whatever exam that you want to give, coupled with the number of universities you're applying to, the SOPs, the number of SOPs you're supposed to write. So if you're applying to five universities, you're looking at 15 essays easily. So the duration and the time that you're supposed to give them, and building your resume, these are things that take a lot of your time. So strategizing them way before you start them is the best strategy to go about, because it helps you focus on the right things at the right time, and that's the trick of this entire journey.
Yeah, I mean that was a decent summary, and I mean I'm done with all the questions. We have been discussing for a long time, longer than what we planned for. But it's good that we went into details of all the questions, and we got like good insight on everything that I wanted to discuss. So thank you so much for joining, Falguni, and all the best for your journey ahead with the college and France. Hope you enjoy the entire experience.
Thank you so much, Shubham. It was great, and I'm glad that I could have this platform to talk about all that I wanted to talk about. Thank you. Bye bye.